This is Dennis's office. There must be some clues around. Come on, Sam, keep it together. You can solve this.
After waking up in a hotel room early on in Twin Mirror, your shirt covered in blood and the memories of the previous night's event shrouded in fog,
That's not good.
developer Dontnod's latest adventure initially seems less like a whodunit and more like a you-done-it.
What did I do?
Unfortunately, that's about as suspenseful as things ever get. While there's no shortage of intrigue at its outset, Twin Mirror's lean running time leaves little room to flesh out all of its characters
You don't get to know anyone.
or introduce any form of misdirection to its mystery, robbing the reveals in its closing chapters of any real weight or surprise as a result. You play Sam Higgs, a journalist who returns to the West Virginia town of Basswood after his friend Nick is killed in a tragic car crash. There's an immediate sense of hostility towards you from the townsfolk, many of whom place the blame of Basswood's flagging local economy upon an article Sam wrote exposing the shady standards of the local coal mining industry.
You're not worth it, Higgs.
This tension is further amplified by Sam's fragile mental state, personified by an imaginary twin who serves as either the angel or the devil on his shoulder at the critical junctions that shape Twin Mirror's branching 6-hour story.
I woke up today and my shirt was covered in blood.
I found the escalating friction between Sam and his hallucinated other half to be far more interesting than any of the other character interactions.
Stop always poking at me. You just won't quit.
So much of the supporting cast is painted in the broadest of strokes, and it doesn't help that both the acting and motion capture seem noticeably stiff.
Oh my god, no. How could this happen?
I never really felt invested in any of these people, and thus none of the major decisions ever presented any form of moral conflict.
Still not a fan of being touched?
At times, Sam will retreat from reality into his mind palace, a dreamlike realm where shimmering crystalline shards arrange themselves into fragments of Sam's memory. At first, these sections seem like a safe haven, but as Sam's anxiety intensifies over the course of his investigation, they soon transform into nightmarish voids. These sections are constructed with clumsy chase sequences and overly simplistic environmental puzzles, but their atmosphere at least introduces a welcome jolt of trepidation to Twin Mirror's otherwise fairly sedate mood. Sam's mind palace can also be used as a tool on the handful of occasions you need to reconstruct the sequence of events at a crime scene.
I need to find out what really happened.
Adjusting a set of variables and then watching how each permutation plays out. Although there's always a variety of conclusions to arrive at, only one of them is ever the correct one that will advance the story, meaning that these crime scene recreations are less about drawing your own conclusion, as they are arbitrarily swapping around their individual components until you get it right.
Only one simulation fits the evidence.
While I was disappointed at the lack of any real deduction required, at least I felt some agency during these reconstructive sequences. The same can't really be said for Twin Mirror's evidence gathering, which for the most part amounts to shuffling around a given location and hunting for every last white button prompt in order to trigger the crime scene reconstruction, while Sam mumbles observations with all the wit and insight of a teenager's tweets.
Reminds me of a girl I met. She could only eat chips when she had stomach aches.
Okay, not sure if that needed to be said.
Cowboy must have lost his keys.
Ha! Another mystery solved!
Hiking is an activity best done alone on a Sunday afternoon.
Yes, I suppose that's true.
He looks like those doctors you see on commercials.
Wait, what commercials?
Good to see someone finally knows how to take care of a plant.
Okay, let's move on. Possibly the only major surprise I uncovered in Twin Mirror is its apparent reverence for Pac-Man. The classic arcade pellet chomper from the 80s is almost everywhere you look. There's a Pac-Man arcade machine in Sam's Mind Palace. There's a Pac-Man arcade machine in cherished photos. There's a Pac-Man recreated by post-it notes on the wall of the local newspaper office, and, I'm happy to report, there's a fully playable game of Pac-Man in the local pub. Oddly enough, there are also clear parallels to be made between Pac-Man and Sam. Sam spends a lot of his time wandering around his environment looking for white dots, a lot like Pac-Man. Sam depends on pills in order to help him confront the ghosts of his past, a lot like Pac-Man. If Sam tries to leave the confines of an investigation area, he immediately returns to the same area, a lot like Pac-Man. And if you feel like I'm reaching too much with this analogy, consider this. In an early flashback, Sam's friend Nick straight up tells him,
You're a lot like Pac-Man, Sam.
I don't really know how much of Pac-Man's pizza-shaped presence is by design or purely coincidental, but what I do know is that I spent far more time puzzling over why the developers seemingly drew so much inspiration from a 40-year-old arcade icon when crafting their modern story-driven psychological thriller than I spent analysing the actual plot.
Video games are the realm of the young.
The truth is that Twin Mirror's central murder mystery is exceedingly straightforward, low on surprises and staggeringly small in scope. I played through the story twice, making different decisions each time, and although the second ending revealed slightly more than the first, both arrived at unfulfilling and entirely predictable conclusions that didn't even come close to blowing the doors off my mind palace.
I know I didn't do it. The police, though, may not feel the same way.
Twin Mirror is a frustratingly uneven adventure. It feels slow-paced yet ends too quickly, it features a wide cast of characters but doesn't give them enough depth, and it presents you with crimes to investigate without letting you play much of a role in solving them. The back and forth between Sam and his double provides the odd enjoyably tense moment,
I can't just run from whatever this is.
and the Mind Palace sections at least provide a welcome change of pace, but the overarching narrative doesn't so much as gradually ramp up to a startling climax as skid and thud into a clearly signposted dead end.
Same old boring Basswood. It's quiet here,
So quiet, there's no rush hour, I guess.
right?
Outside of the eccentric influence of Pac-Man, the biggest surprise in Twin Mirror was that it left me with so little to reflect on.
I'd say that went well. Ish.
For more IGN reviews, check out our verdicts on Immortals Phoenix Rising and Destiny 2 Beyond Light. And for everything else, stick with IGN.
I finally beat Nick's high score.